The champagne glass shattered before anyone could breathe. For a second, silence swallowed the first-class cabin. Naomi Carter sat perfectly still, the sting of Colin Hart's hand still burning on her cheek. Around her, every passenger froze. But before we get to that shocking moment, tell me where you're watching from. And if you're on Inspire now, hit that like and subscribe button. Because what happened on Aurora Airlines Flight 227 wasn't just about arrogance meeting its match. It was about what happens when quiet power finally speaks. Earlier that morning, sunlight poured across the vast windows of Atlanta International Airport. Naomi, 34, stood calmly in the first-class line wearing jeans, sneakers, and a simple gray sweater. Nothing about her looked extraordinary, and that's exactly how she wanted it. The truth was, Naomi wasn't just another traveler. She was the secret majority owner of Aurora Airlines, a company she'd quietly taken control of after years of seeing passengers of color treated differently. Today, she was flying undercover to see for herself how deep the problem ran. At check-in, the gate agent, Meredith Pike, glanced at Naomi's passport, then frowned. "I'll need additional ID," she said. Naomi blinked. The businessman in front of her had breezed through without question. "Is there a problem?" she asked politely. "Just being thorough," Meredith said with a thin smile. "We have to make sure everyone belongs where they're supposed to be." The word belongs landed like a slap. Naomi handed over her driver's license and remembered what her grandmother used to say. Your dignity isn't determined by their ignorance. Finally cleared, Naomi boarded. The flight attendants smiled warmly at white passengers, but when she reached her row, their tone shifted. More mechanical, less warmth. She took her seat in 1A, opened her tablet, and reviewed notes for a secret board meeting scheduled the next day. Her plan? To reveal herself as Aurora's true owner and launch a company-wide reform against discrimination. The seat beside her stayed empty until a man in his 50s, Trent Colson, arrived. He looked at her, frowned slightly, and pressed the call button. "Any chance I can get a different seat?" he asked. "I prefer more space." Within minutes, Chief Purser Colin Hart had moved him across the aisle, ignoring the fact that all first-class seats were identical. Naomi took a deep breath. "Document everything," she reminded herself. Pre-departure service began. Champagne flowed freely except to her. "Excuse me," Naomi said. "May I have water, please?" "Of course," said flight attendant Anya Patel. But Colin whispered something in her ear and the cart rolled past. Naomi pressed the call button. Colin approached with forced patience. "We're quite busy right now," he said. "You'll be served when possible." Naomi smiled politely. "Every other passenger has already been served." His jaw tightened. "I'll see what I can do." When her drink finally arrived, it came without a napkin. She typed quietly. "Unequal service noted." When the captain announced a 1-hour delay for engine checks, passengers sighed. Colin moved through first class chatting and laughing with white passengers while pretending Naomi didn't exist. When complimentary champagne was offered, Colin served everyone except her. After waiting 15 minutes, Naomi pressed the button again. "I'd like my champagne, please." "We've run out," Colin said, but she had just seen him pour another glass across the aisle. "Your policy states equal service for all first-class passengers," she replied. "Some people think a ticket entitles them to special treatment," he muttered. "Equal treatment will do," she said softly. 2 hours later, the plane finally lifted off. Naomi stared out at the glowing clouds, remembering the day she decided to buy Aurora after being humiliated on a similar flight years ago. She'd promised herself, "If I ever get the power, I'll change it from within." At cruising altitude, mild turbulence flickered on the seatbelt sign. Colin announced that service was suspended for safety, yet Naomi watched him continue serving drinks to others. She pressed the call button. "Could I have sparkling water?" she asked. "Service is paused," Colin said curtly. "Except for them?" she asked quietly. "I'll see what I can do," he snapped. Moments later, Anya appeared discreetly with a bottle. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Naomi smiled. "Thank you, Anya, I see you." Her tablet buzzed. A message from her operations director, Gabe. 3 prior passenger complaints naming a Colin Hart for discriminatory behavior, all dismissed. Naomi typed back, "Pattern confirmed." Then Colin noticed her recording something on her tablet. "Ma'am, filming the crew is against policy," he said sharply. Actually, Aurora's passenger rights permit recording your own experience, she replied. His nostrils flared. You'll stop now, he barked. With respect, sir, I'm documenting my experience, not interfering. People like you always think rules don't apply, he muttered, stepping closer and reaching for her tablet. Naomi pulled it away. He reached again and the champagne glass tipped. Liquid splashed. Glass shattered. His hand struck her cheek. For a full second, the cabin froze. Naomi didn't cry, didn't flinch. That was assault, she said quietly. Captain Maria Alvarez rushed from the cockpit. Mr. Hart, step away, she commanded. Colin stood pale and shaking as whispers filled the cabin. Phones were already recording. Trent stared, stunned. Even those who had sided with Colin were silent now. When the plane landed at LAX, it taxied not to the main gate, but to a private terminal, where security and executives waited. Ms. Carter, said Co. Dana Ruiz, please come with us to the executive lounge. We'll handle this privately. Naomi stood. No, she said. This doesn't belong behind closed doors. She turned to face the stunned passengers. My name is Naomi Carter, she said, voice calm but strong. Some of you witnessed what happened today. I was assaulted by a senior crew member for asking for equal treatment. What you don't know is that I'm the majority owner of Aurora Airlines. The cabin erupted in gasps. Phones rose higher. For years, I've quietly documented the bias in this company. I wanted to understand how people are treated when they think no one important is watching. Now we all know, she pointed toward Anya. Some of our staff show real integrity. Others have turned prejudice into procedure. That ends today. Aurora Airlines will operate under a new principle: dignity at every altitude, equal service, transparent reporting, zero tolerance for discrimination, no matter who wears the uniform. Security entered and escorted Colin off the plane. The applause that followed was real, raw, and thunderous. Even Captain Alvarez looked emotional. Anya wiped away tears. Trent, who had once looked down on her, couldn't meet her eyes. By the time Naomi stepped into the terminal, social media was already exploding. Naomi Carter and Aurora Accountable were trending worldwide. News anchors called it the slap that changed the skies. That night, Naomi led an emergency board meeting. Her cheeks still red, she stood tall. We can treat this as a scandal, she said, or we can treat it as the moment we finally fix what's broken. The board voted unanimously for her reform plan. 6 months later, Aurora Airlines was transformed. Every staff member, from gate agents to pilots, underwent bias and empathy training. Service was standardized by seat number to prevent favoritism. A new department, led by Anya Patel, reviewed passenger experience data for fairness. Employee retention rose. Complaints dropped. Profits soared. And for the first time, Aurora was ranked the #1 airline in customer satisfaction. One quiet morning, Naomi boarded the same flight route from Atlanta to Los Angeles. The same gate, same seat, but this time things were different. The gate agent smiled warmly. Welcome aboard, Ms. Carter. Captain Priya Sharma, the airline's new chief pilot, greeted her in first class. We're honored to have you with us today. Treat me like any other passenger, Naomi said. That's exactly our policy, Priya replied with a proud smile. As the jet climbed above the clouds, Anya, now head of passenger experience, served Naomi a glass of champagne. With a napkin this time, she said softly. Naomi laughed. Thank you. For everything. Outside, the sky stretched endless and golden. Her grandmother's words echoed again. Your dignity isn't determined by their ignorance. The slap meant to silence her had instead awakened a system. What began as humiliation became transformation. For an airline, for an industry, for everyone who's ever been told they didn't belong. So, if this story inspired you, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Inspire Now, because sometimes the quietest act of courage can shake an empire and remind the world that respect shouldn't be earned by status, but granted by humanity.